You've probably heard that phrase, separating the sheep from the goats, right? Well, it comes from this incredibly famous parable about the final judgment. It's a dramatic scene that really forces you to ask one huge question. When it's all said and done, what's the one test that truly matters? Today, we're going to unpack the answer found in this text, and you might find it's not what you think.
So, here's our game plan. We'll start by setting this cosmic stage for the judgment and figure out who the judge is and why he has the authority. Then we'll get into that central image, the sheep and the goats. But the real meat of the story is a surprising twist that leaves everyone, and I mean everyone, confused. And it all hinges on identifying this mysterious group called My Brothers. Once we crack that, we'll get to what this text argues is the true final test of faith.
All right, let's dive in. This story doesn't ease you into it. It just drops you right into this epic scene of incredible scale and, well, finality. This is the moment of ultimate accountability.
I mean, just think about the scale here. This isn't just about one small group or one religion. The text says all the nations will be there. It's being presented as this universal, high-stakes event where every single person is brought before this one throne for a final accounting, no exceptions.
So, this image of a great divide, that's the foundation for this entire parable. You have all of humanity, and it's being split into just two distinct groups by one single authoritative figure. And that immediately makes you wonder, okay, what's the basis for this separation? Why do some go one way and others go the other?
So, before we can really get into the judgment itself, we have to understand the judge. The source material goes to great lengths to establish why this one figure, the Son of Man, has the right to judge all of creation.
And the argument that's presented is pretty comprehensive. According to these scriptures, the Son isn't just some appointed judge. His authority is literally woven into the fabric of reality itself. He's described as the one who has given everything, the agent of creation, the very power that holds the universe together, and the one to whom obedience is the key to life.
So here's the core idea. He doesn't just use a rule book to judge people. He is the rule book. His very nature is the standard. In this theological framework, obeying him isn't just a good idea, it's presented as the one and only condition for survival.
Okay, so we've got the scene set and we've established the judge has absolute authority. Now, how does this big separation actually happen? Well, the text uses a really simple, almost rustic metaphor that everyone back then would have immediately understood. A shepherd separating his sheep from his goats.
What's really striking here is just how concrete and action-based the criteria are. I mean, look at it. The judgment boils down to this simple checklist. Did you, or did you not, do these 6 basic acts of mercy? On the surface, it seems incredibly straightforward. The righteous did them, the cursed didn't. Case closed, right?
Well, not so fast. Just when you think you've got the rules all figured out, the story hits you with a massive twist. It turns out that neither the sheep nor the goats had any idea who they were really serving, or failing to serve. The righteous, the quote-unquote sheep, they're genuinely shocked. They're basically saying, "We have no memory of this. Lord, when did we ever see you, the king, in need and help you out?" It seems they were just doing these acts of kindness without any awareness of who they were ultimately doing it for.
And then you look at the other side, and the goats are just as surprised. But listen closely to their question. It reveals their whole mindset. Lord, if we had known it was you, we totally would have helped. See? They didn't realize the true significance of the people they were ignoring.
And here it is, the king's reply. This is the one line that unlocks the entire parable. He reveals that he completely identifies himself with a very specific group of people, the least of these brothers of mine. Helping them was helping him, ignoring them was ignoring him.
This revelation immediately forces us to ask what is probably the most important question in the whole passage. Who exactly are these brothers? Is it just a general term for all people in need, or does it mean something a lot more specific?
This is where a really specific interpretation of the text becomes absolutely critical. The argument here is that brothers doesn't just mean all of suffering humanity. No, instead, it's referring to a very distinct group, the Son's own followers who are facing hardship as a direct result of their mission.
So, the logic goes like this. Their suffering isn't random. They're hungry, they're thirsty, they're in prison because their work for the Son has put them at odds with the world around them. They're basically missionaries and martyrs suffering for their cause. So helping them isn't just a random act of kindness, it's an act of alignment with their mission. And that brings us to the final and most crucial insight. If the real test is about helping these specific brothers, then this parable becomes a much, much deeper commentary on the nature of faith. It goes way beyond just doing good deeds.
Now, this is a really important nuance. The goats aren't necessarily what we would think of as bad people. The source argues they might even be religious leaders or philanthropists or just people who do a lot of seemingly good things. The problem isn't a lack of action, but the motive and the direction of that action.
This really gets to the heart of the argument. A person could perform actual miracles, give away every penny they have, even sacrifice their own body. But if the ultimate reason, the why behind it all, isn't obedience to the Son and His purpose, then the action is considered meaningless in this final judgment.
The theological logic presented in the source kind of flows like this. First, it argues that genuine love isn't something humans can just generate on their own. It originates from God. Second, to be able to show that love, you have to first be connected to its source. Therefore, any act of kindness that's performed apart from a relationship of love and obedience to the Son is in this framework not a true act of love.
So, what does this all mean? It means the final standard isn't simply be a good person. The argument concludes that the only help that actually registers as righteous in this judgment is the help that actively furthers the Son's mission by supporting the very messengers who are suffering for it.
And that leaves us with a final, really challenging thought. The parable gives us a clear list of actions, right? Feed the hungry, clothe the naked. But as we've seen, the text argues that the action itself isn't what counts. It forces us to ask, what's the ultimate motive, the source of love and obedience that transforms a simple good deed into an act with eternal significance?